Welcome to Conversations and Opinions. I'm Caronica.
I'm Tarvis.
I'm Shae.
And I'm Clorissa. And today we are talking about how to reinvent love in a relationship or marriage. And also some non-conventional things about love and marriage, but we're going to get into that later. I think y'all know what we're talking about already.
Right.
So number one, is it important to redefine love in your relationship or your marriage as you go along?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's a unanimous. Okay,
Yes.
Why? Why, ladies? Why?
I think just because sometimes when you first get into these relationships, you have an idea of what you think a relationship or a marriage should be based off of history or your family or, parents. So just finding what works for you. So that's why I think it's important, because sometimes we're doing things that are not necessarily working for us, but we're doing it because that's all we know.
It's routine.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to redefine it because we change. We change daily.
Yep.
Time waits for no one. So you have to, and y'all will hear this throughout all of our conversation and opinion
Is
podcasts.
it authentic? Is it authentic?
No, that you just have to have the tough conversations.
Yeah.
And you have to, again, I don't think it's excessive, but I think every 30 days, there should kind of be like a touch-based conversation, because at that point, y'all been through some stuff maybe in them 30 days. Are we still on the page? Is there something I'm not doing? Because if you don't, you maybe go out 2-3 months, but I'm thinking if you check that pulse and that's something that you incorporate in your relationship, then that helps with, I didn't know because you didn't tell me.
Yeah.
No, you knew because we've agreed that this is what we do. So yes, I do believe you should have conversations on I won't really say the reinvention, but the expectations and what you have or haven't done thus far.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
That's good.
Yeah. So when it comes to having a conversation with your mate, I think you should always have that communication between you and your mate. Some things change over the years when it comes to just on a financial, when it comes to a sexual, when it comes to anything within the marriage, things change. Your thoughts and opinions change about how you want to do stuff. Because the truth is, you could have come into the marriage feeling one way, but then it changes as time goes on. It could change probably 2 months from that time that y'all had that conversation.
Yeah. Right.
And so I think when you be honest about the things that you really want out of the other person, and that should be done before marriage. But anyways, we're talking about within the marriage. Once you make that decision between the two of you, what you want to do, stick to it. Try different things. Because sometimes the problem is some people are more adventurous than others, and others aren't. And so sometimes keep an open mind about allowing yourself to be open to other people's or the other person's way of wanting to try things is always good. Because the truth is, when it comes to a marriage, I'm not married, never been married, but to me it's just like I'm thinking
It could be relationships too.
But when I'm thinking about a relationship or just anything of that nature, I'm thinking like, hey, before we even get into the marriage, if I'm thinking about a relationship, I need to know what you want from me. And I need to know what type of, because I've come across people who flat out said, well, my ex-wife or this person that I'm no longer with wasn't adventurous enough. I wanted to do these things. They didn't. And a lot of times I'm hearing it's usually either financial or sexual, the reason why two people don't stay together. And my thing is, if you're honest in the beginning of how freaky you are or how not stimulated you are to even have sex, then you need to tell these people in the beginning. Because the truth is, as time goes on, when you don't have these conversations, it basically takes away from the whole relationship, and then it ends.
It festers.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you say?
I think 1,000% you have to reinvent as you go. just because people change. I mean, just think about people who got married at 18.
Yeah.
They loved each other. They were high school sweethearts, but we all know that 18-year-old Caronica is not the same as 30-year-old Caronica.
Right.
25-year-old Tarvis is not the same as 35. So we change frequently. So like you were saying, evolution within yourself makes you change. And here's the thing too. Sometimes things in the beginning you were down for. And as you evolve and grow, you're like, oh, I actually don't like any of that anymore.
Right.
It's not fair if you don't have touch points with your partner and
Yes.
say, you know, I know when we came into this, we were totally doing this. I just think we've elevated past that. You know, so doing the checkpoint. So even if you don't have a conversation out loud, you can do nonverbal check-ins. So yes, along the way, if you're going
Okay, how you nonverbal check in?
you can do a nonverbal check-in.
I think you can.
You can.
Okay, explain that. I'm serious when I.
It's just certain actions that you take. Like if you know your partner's love language is acts of service and you've both been busy for a really long time and you haven't done any acts of service, you know what? Let me take this weekend and just focus on catering to that thing. You know what I'm saying? So you don't have to say, are you okay? Or do you feel like I'm meeting your standard? Like sometimes that could get old.
Yeah.
Too. If unless you've agreed to have a conversation. Some relationships they say, look, every 30 days we're doing a check-in. That's cool. But if you're the only one who's doing the checking in, you can do it non-verbally just by making sure you're standing up to the things
that the person likes that you already know.
Okay, so if you're doing a nonverbal check-in and you just decide to do something that correlates to their love language and there is no more conversations or you're just going to now do verbal check-ins, what happens if a year down the line now I don't like you no more. I ain't in love with you.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
You have
So
to
that's
couple
why
them. You can couple them because in any relationship, you can tell when something's getting stale or if somebody's kind of getting over something. You like, okay,
You kind of feel it. You
yeah.
feel it.
Just think about it's been if you are a person who normally cooked in the beginning of the relationship, they loved your cooking. But you've been really busy. You've been out of town for work 5 times, and your man or your woman has been eating Taco Bell for 3 months, and you know they are sick and tired of it. You can do a nonverbal. Let me make this full 5-course meal. Let me make some stuff and prepare. I'm going out of town again, but I've frozen some spaghetti for you. I've frozen this and that. So you do nonverbals. But I do think verbal check-ins are necessary, but you don't have to do them all the time.
It
just
can
to,
be spread out.
Yeah.
But I also think so allowing the other person to evolve.
Yes.
Because sometimes when it's not what you, I guess I don't want to say signed up for, but what you started off with, and then a person changed. Sometimes people feel like slighted. Like, what happened? Like, how dare you change on me?
Yeah.
But I think that you should allow the person to like evolve, like because everybody gets a turn.
That's right.
Everybody gets a turn. So I think that's important because I think that's the hardest thing, to watch another person evolve when you're not there, and then it feels it's complicated,
like you're getting left
yes,
behind.
I think
or they
that's
think
a lot of
better
people
than
jump ship because they're like,
wow,
this is not what we were in the beginning, and they're like, okay, who are you? But we are all changing. We thinking different. We're growing. We're learning. We're seeing things, the world differently. So just letting that person individually evolve and become the person that they need to become, because when and allow each other to do that.
And I got a good example about that. I knew someone who they grew up together. Like they were sweethearts. They grew up together. They grew up in the same town. Blah blah blah. They got married, children, everything. And the way they were in the beginning, you know, growing up as young people, as they got older, you know, the wife got saved, the husband wasn't saved, and like he was still doing the same things they were doing ever since they were young, and she was evolving and being a different person completely. And so I think having that two dynamics in a house, I'm pretty sure it had to be extremely hard for her to sit back and try to allow him to get to that point. Now he did eventually get to that point. I mean, certain things God will take you through things, and you will go through the water, the fire, and everything else, and then coming out shining. Because when he came out, out of all the things he'd been through, he was a great person, like completely different person. So like, you know, and it wasn't saying he wasn't a great person then, but he ended up being what they both needed in order to stay in that relationship.
But it still goes back to, again, conversations. That's why I question the nonverbal, because I agree with you about you're going to evolve. You have to let that person be the best version of themselves. And sometimes the best version of themselves, even whether it's nonverbal or verbal, you grow apart. And I just feel like when you have those conversations, you can kind of see it coming, and then you make the decision.
But everybody doesn't communicate that way. My husband gets irritated with the constant asking of the same thing. So to a person like him, like he's an action-based person.
Okay.
Show me, baby. You ain't got to tell me 1,000 times that you're going to cook that dinner. Just cook the dinner.
Yeah.
Like, so, you know what I'm saying?
I can relate.
Yeah. I'm a super talkative person. And my husband...
But when you give that example about, telling that you're going to cook, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, like, have the tough conversation. Hey, babe, I'm just checking in. I know you've been busy. I've been busy. Are we good? Is there something that I've missed?
My husband would just prefer that.
Really?
Yeah, most men will.
Yeah.
You can't talk. Men don't.
I ain't gonna say that. I'm not gonna.
I know what you're saying.
I
I communicate that way that you just said. Let's talk about this.
Right.
But if the other person is not that type of communicator, that don't mean they're not a good communicator either. Because he listens to every time I want to sit down and have these long, heartfelt conversations. He's present. But I know for him, he's more action based. Like. I like when you give me nice, positive words and say,
right.
"Oh, we're gonna make $50 million this year." I'm like, "Yay!"
Yeah,
you know
that's
what I'm saying?
great.
I love that stuff. But yeah, so I just say the nonverbals may be a more effective way to reach certain types of people. Okay. Some people are action based, and that's just it.
Yeah,
too.
the action
You can have a conversation, but it's just not doing it so frequently.
It doesn't have to be that.
No. I'm not. No, don't get me. That's just what I like to do.
Yeah,
and I've been fortunate enough to, like you say, have men that will sit down and have the conversations. And I don't know if they are emotionally in touch with their feelings, that I've been fortunate enough to have that. But I do that. And I get what you're saying about nonverbal, but I'm just saying, if you do nonverbal and you don't have the hard conversations, and then a year down the line, you know what I'm saying? So
both are necessary. Both are necessary.
You have to find out who you are dealing with, because the truth is, every man's different. Some people are okay with having a conversation. Some people don't like it as much. They okay with expressing their feelings, but they don't want to have a sit down powwow every time.
That's
they turn
exactly
around.
the point.
And then you have some men that you have to figure out who they are and how you literally have to kind of like touch and go. Yeah. You got to figure out how
I agree with what you guys are saying.
Open up with him without him thinking that you're a nag.
Oh, no, I agree wholeheartly. All I'm saying is you just got to check the pulse.
Yeah, absolutely.
Verbally.
And even give the pulse sometimes for yourself. Because if you like flowers and you've never said that out loud, and he's never getting flowers, now you irritated. It's like, well, you never bought me flowers.
You're supposed to know I like flowers. I'm a woman. You know?
So, but also y'all had mentioned how you mentioned in the relationship where your friend had to sit back and wait for her husband to come rise to the occasion. But on the flip side, he had to sit back and watch this person that was like this completely change on him.
Right.
So it's not just the grace for the people who still down here. No. I gave you grace too when you.
Right. It wasn't necessarily he was down. It was more the fact that she ended up becoming a more spiritual person, and that's not how they were before. They they went out to parties and they drank, and once most people who are, especially what I call beginner Christians, they are very strict about.
So his situation was more draining than hers, because when you come into a situation with someone and you are one way, and then someone changes up on you, then that other person's like, "What are we doing?
What's going on?
Like, what's happening here?
Hello?
Now,
on both sides.
Now I'm about to stir that pot.
Go ahead,
because what you just said brings me. I know everybody in the entire world, internationally and all, have heard about Jada and Will. And in my mind, if you are going to be married, then be married to that one person. When you start the threesomes, the outside and the thruples and all of the menage a trois and whatever, just get a divorce and live your life.
But everybody's, but they are living their life the way they discussed before they got married. That has nothing to do.
Well, I think
He said
because
she never believed in conventional marriage.
Right. And he was never going to divorce her. I feel like he made the adjustment to hold true to what he said he was never going to do again.
Maybe, but in the
That's
beginning,
what I feel like.
But he also stated Jada never believed in conventional marriage,
Correct.
which means this is something you knew the entire time.
Absolutely.
So you don't get to. It's not about getting divorced. It's about
Right.
we actually like this. We actually like having sex with somebody else every 3 years, and it's amazing. And we go back to our beautiful stuff. Some people like that,
Right.
You know, every marriage is different.
Correct.
And everybody's not looking at the King James version of the Bible for how it should go.
Everybody's not
Correct.
going to just want to have sex in the bed.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
So-
and again, we're living in the modern day Sodom and Gomorrah. So,
And if you
that's
went into
just
the marriage
how I
with
feel.
monogamy as the
Yeah.
thing, and we're not going to ever have any of that type of spice over there, then you have an argument. But if you came into it one way, there's no reason to get a divorce.
Well,
It's
that's
just-
what if they agreed upon that, then he's in agreement now. Like, I do think that you get to change your mind. I do
That's
think
true,
that
too.
you get to change your mind. That's why I said that the uncomfortableness comes when someone else doesn't want to do something anymore, and they're like, well, this is what we said we was gonna do, but
And it's the only reason why I'm with you.
right.
we got along. We did this.
Right.
Thing.
But I don't think I don't know. Will ain't talked to Will, you know. But I just don't feel like it was something he really wanted to do, although he knew that's who he married.
And although he had other sexual relationships outside of the marriage, so I mean,
Yeah, I mean, and she did too.
yeah. So nobody,
mean,
they're
let's
doing
be
what they
real.
agreed upon. They doing what.
Let's be real. Men don't have a problem, for the most part. Some, I'm not going to say all, but a lot of men don't have a problem with being with another woman along with the woman he's with. Problem
Correct.
is when a man realizes that he is not the only person that his wife wants to be with, then it becomes an issue. So that's where sometimes the problems lie, because a lot of times when the other person wants to only be desired and they realize, oh, so you actually have desires for other people too,
Yeah,
then it becomes an
it's
issue.
that double standard
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Well, let me put it on record. Evolve, evolution, or whatever. That ain't nothing I'm gonna ever do. If I'm married to you, if I'm in a relationship, if that I ain't
Her
for
future.
you.
I know, like,
I
for
ain't
real.
for you, okay?
I love your conviction on that, because that's literally, you should get what you want.
Right.
You should get exactly what you want, and everybody sees things differently.
And I've also had to come to the realization that, you know, the women outweigh the men. So, I mean, I may be by myself, and I'm coming to terms with that, because that's what I can't do. I can't.
Well, you shouldn't have to do that. I mean,
You know what I mean?
I don't. That's not something I'm like. Oh yeah, I want to share you with someone. I mean, that's not in my cards too. But if that's what you desire in your relationship, then that's between y'all.
And
Yeah.
if the need changes along the way, because you may be in a monogamous relationship in the beginning and both people agreed. However, as time goes on, you might decide, you know what, babe, I've been learning and looking at some other situations, and I actually want to see how you feel about us introducing another piece to not piece of anything, but another piece of the puzzle. You know what I'm
Piece
saying?
of the puzzle.
The
words are getting
right. I'm getting messed up here. No, but like if we're giving people the grace to evolve and be, look at you. Come on now. You're the one who said evolution in the first place.
yeah, but
so I'm saying if people have evolved in their mental understanding of things, or if their environment has introduced them to certain things, it's not wrong to come to your partner and be honest and truthful and say, what do you think about this? Now, you do have a choice to say, like you say, get a divorce and just go on your separate way.
Right.
But we ask for honesty. Do we always want it?
Look how Shae looking.
I want honesty.
Because you gotta think about it. I'm putting myself out, but how old was I? Like in my late 20s when I lost my virginity. I went from, virgin to, exploring, trying to figure out what I want and, just going through all this stuff in my 30s. You know what I'm saying? So I listen to everything that everybody's saying, and I'm thinking to myself, the truth is, I'm in my 40s now, and I'm thinking differently than I did in my 30s. And then when I get to my 50s, I'm probably thinking differently than I did in my 40s. And so all the things I be thinking about, some of the stuff I want to do, I already know either the dude I'm going to deal with is going to think I'm crazy or he going to be down. And I'm very honest about stuff.
Look right in the camera like Tarvis.
I'm very honest about how I feel about certain things.
Yes.
So I, it just depends. It's you. People need to stop pretending to be something that they're not.
Absolutely.
Be who you are. Tell the person. Stop doing stuff to get that man.
Absolutely.
Be who you are in the beginning.
Absolutely.
If you do that, then God will provide someone who's close to what you're trying to be about. So because, when I get older, I feel like we should go to the nudist camp. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I want to be able to,
and that's how you reinvent.
It's people who do that. You should be able to do what you want. It's based off of what you want.
You just have to find that partner that wants to do the same things you want.
Right.
But I do think that...
Or open to it.
Or no, reinvention happens along the way because sometimes a partner gets to a place first and then they bring you with them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So sometimes you may not think you down for something in the beginning at all.
You never know.
And then your partner starts to have an understanding of something and you give them the freedom to grow. And then you say, oh, well, wow, I had this preconceived notion of that thing. But actually, okay, I'll come with you next time or I'll watch that thing or I'll try that thing.
It just depends on when you talk about when we're talking about sex and we're talking about other people, I just personally feel that you have to be a certain type of person. Not good or bad, but you got to be honest with yourself.
That's right.
Because if you are a selfish person when it comes to your man, that ain't gonna work for you.
Right. I don't care what invention
you just gotta know.
There is.
I'm just saying how much. It doesn't matter how much fun.
That's jokers.
No, it doesn't matter how much fun you're having. And I'm not saying it's not fun. I'm just saying that when you understand yourself, there's other people who's out who can just really have fun and it doesn't bother them. But we just have to understand ourselves because that's when it gets messy. When people do stuff and that's not who they are, then you got people...
They do it for their
Or it gets messy when your spouse is growing and you acting like you don't see that growth. But that's why people get lost in the sauce or you get left behind.
But you can't get... I don't think you get left behind if you know that's not something you can...
That's true. No, that's true. But yeah, so yes. So the checkpoints, like what she was saying in the beginning, the checkpoints and stuff, they're important because you do have to say, you know what, you're changing. And you can say it however you want to say it. You're changing. Think about it. If two people were smoking cigarettes and drinking all the time together and they were hanging out, going to the clubs, and then all of a sudden I get this really corporate job and wow, I actually really like it over here where they play golf. And it's like, well, do you want to play the golf or do you or are you over here saying, oh, you changing, you getting too Hollywood. Go on over there. You have to give grace to evolve and having conversations. Babe, do you want to try golf? You want to try golf or do you?
That is different than the sex.
No, it's all the same.
Well, hold on. Let me tell you why it's different. Because while you guys know I always go spiritual, you have a connection, a spiritual connection. And there's a transference of spirits when the ejaculation happens because men are depositors and we're receptors. So we receive that. So when you enter into a situation with another party in that, there is going to be another connection, another bond. So now what happens if the connection that you and your husband thought you have turns into a heavier connection with this? Now that brings situations in that you may not be prepared for because now you want to spend time. That's why I said if that's what you're feeling as far as evolving in a relationship with sex, do that and not be married because again, it goes back to what you said. Sometimes females do it just for their spouse or who they're with. Males do the same thing too.
Or they can find somebody who would do it with you. But see, when I think of the why I think it's different is not, and I'm going to put it not spiritual.
Okay.
I think it's different because when I think of you evolving, you can evolve yourself. And I can watch you evolve, like the way your thought process, things like that. But when it becomes where you're forcing me now to do what you're doing, then it changes the situation because I'm not there yet. So if now I have to jump and and some people get to that point where now I have to do what my husband or my wife wants me to do because I don't want to lose them. So when I say watch your person evolve and give them a process, you can't make the other person come to the side that you're trying to.
So I understand everything that everybody is saying. So I'm the type. So when I'm listening to it, I'm thinking to myself that sometimes, and I am so against divorce and separation and all that stuff, but at the same time, because of people coming into relationships not knowing who they're coming into a relationship with, and I believe that people, in order for you to get married to that person, sometimes you only put out your best self.
Come on,
Shae. Putting out your best self, sometimes everything that person, that person probably wouldn't be down with, you kind of like put to the side and say, well,
you ain't being your authentic self.
Hopefully when we get married, then this person will be okay with it. And I've had so many conversations.
Or the opposite, doing what the person wants you to do and you're not okay with it.
But I had so many conversations with guys who have made comments to me about past situations and the reason why they're divorced and all these things. And I'm thinking like, that's because y'all were lying to each other. The truth is, you were a very highly sexual person who wanted to be in multiple situations with multiple people. And the truth is, you wanted to still have a connection with one person, but be able to do all these other things. But the truth is, you didn't tell that person that's how you felt in the beginning, because the reason you didn't want them is you knew that you probably would lose that person. So sometimes I believe that when you're in a situation and anytime anybody makes you feel when you questioning how you feel about the situation, when you are not, feel like a little weirdness inside, or you don't feel comfortable with a person, y'all having these weird conversations because the truth is you really don't, but they have to try to like almost manipulate you to be.
Because people hint stuff like.
They'll manipulate you to be who they want you to be.
Okay.
So my thing is, look, I'm totally about being a freak with the dude I'm with. I'm not necessarily trying to share it, but at the same time, I'm not against people who do what they do because that's what.
You do what you want to do.
But as long as the truth is, as long as the reason why you guys are doing this is because it's something that you both choose that you want to do, and that's cool.
And you can handle it. You're not riding around the street
holding a grudge
or chasing the other person, seeing where the other person at. Like, you gotta be real. If you're doing all that, it ain't for you.
Right.
So do y'all think that reinvention is only centered around sex?
No, because that's why I'm saying reinvention.
She's talking about she brought up the Will Smith.
Reinvention to me can be religion. It can be
habits, new
habits.
Yes.
It can be anything that you're lying. And sometimes when people are involved, they don't even know what's going on with them.
Yeah,
right. Like they don't know. They can't even have a conversation with you because they don't really know what to tell you.
Yeah.
So it's not. It's just sometimes we're changing. You know how many times you wake up, you be like, I don't know what this. I felt funny for the last 3 months. Like I don't even know what's going on with me. It's not you. It's not that person.
I don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just you. It's sometimes that's why I said I was thinking more so individually. That's why I don't feel you can force another person to come to your side because it's a personal thing.
Right.
And if the other person can, kind of compromise somewhere in there.
Okay, and I was just getting ready to ask, when you said it's an individual thing, I get that because you can watch your mate evolve in its personal.
Yes.
And it goes back to having the conversations. But what happens if you watch them evolve and they feel like it's taking you a little too long to come where they are? What happens then?
But then that's basically saying that your evolution in life is the right way.
And your evolution.
That's basically, to me, saying that you feel like your way is the right way. And it's your way. That's the way that you have found at this moment. Doesn't mean that I necessarily have to get there when you got there.
Well, and then sometimes the evolution they're having isn't your evolution.
Yeah.
Period. Like
agreed.
sometimes it's
so do you stay
literally
together?
That's the conversation. Now that's when you sit down and have one of those.
Do you stay together?
So I'm listening to you, and what came into my mind was, well, as we're speaking of different types, because I spoke of the religion thing, and then for an example for my friend, but then I'm thinking like when it comes to financial, because you have situations where people come together and they have different financial expectations or situations going on within their finances, and that. I was also saying that that's one of the situations that can actually put people in either separation, divorce, whatever the case may be, because of some people want you to have a certain credit score. Some people want you to have a certain amount of money in your bank. Some people want you to have different things going on financially. And so my thing with that is I've noticed that you can be with a person, and as they build and they see where you're trying to go, and then they want to go, and they you can work towards those things and build through those things. Then you got some people who just don't have it in them to work on themselves financially.
You can outgrow somebody.
Yes,
you can outgrow somebody.
Or just not even outgrow, because there's a whole bunch of people who's getting in relationships right now who are with people because nobody talks about finances.
Yeah,
they don't realize that the person they're with don't have the type of financial situation that they're interested in being in a relationship with that person in that situation. Like, I don't want to be with somebody who this or they sitting there holding on to $1 just to go get a burger, but yet you ain't got that's the last dollar. You too worried about trying to get this instead of saving and trying to, some people aren't financially stable or responsible.
Yeah, I think that certain evolution is necessary for the other one to come where you're going, period. And no, you shouldn't have to be forced, but if we both started out with terrible credit, and we both got the same type of job, and okay, babe, let's start putting $100 in there every time we get paid. Okay. If one of you is being more responsible consistently and the other one is being irresponsible consistently, and they're hurting the goal, then that is a conversation where you actually have to come to this page where I am, because we're not going to make it to any of the goals.
This affects both of us. This is making building us.
Yes, and this isn't a choice. It is necessary for our livelihood to be better financially. Now, when it comes to other stuff like, oh, well, I like to play the flute, and if you don't, we're not on the same page. That's not the same thing. So some evolution is necessary to be. Whether you got to get drug into it, or whether you have to say, you know what, I'm always going to want to just buy the burger with the $5. I'm never going to want to put it into a stock account. So then you have a conversation about your journey being different, and you go left and you go right.
As long as that person is willing to learn, because my thing is, you can be where you are. You can have your stuff together. Another person is still, still treading along. And my thing is, as long as this person is doing what they're supposed to do in order to get to that point, then that's cool. But it's another thing when you got somebody who over there spending your last dollar. And y'all in the house and ain't got no rent paid, and the light about to go off, and because this person don't have no responsibility when it comes to the little money that's coming in.
Because when you think about, we talked about the insecurities, and when it comes to sex, it's not insecurities, but we talked about the marriage changing, evolving when it comes to sex, financial, just personal growth. So, guys, just let us know.
Yes. I was gonna
what is your experience with this, and what do you guys think? Like, because I know it's somebody out there, y'all all wrong. Like, so, this is just our personal opinion.
Yes.
That's why it's conversations and opinions, and I think this may need another visit.
Yeah.
I think because
that financial thing.
That opened up a whole nother camera.
Yes, sure did.
So once again, we appreciate your support with Conversations and Opinions. Subscribe, like, comment, and we'll see you next time. Bye.